All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is my understanding, Brian, I don't know who you have there in your group. I can't hear you also. I will be paying attention to the chat based off of if there are any questions. Kevin, I don't know if you can hear me or not. I see you're muted. And then I have a room called Lakshmi that also attending. Um, just want to, okay, Kevin, you can't hear me. This session is going to be recorded. So what I'm going to do at the end of the session, Brian, Kevin, one of you all is probably the ones I'm going to share the recording with you all after the fact. The only ask I do have is don't make any noise. I'm just kidding because I can't hear any of you all, but you all can hear me. Today we're here to talk about cosmic upright. I want to let me share my screen here. This is obviously a new cabinet that you all have that's going to be that you all are going to be working on, as well as installing everything else. So, as part of you all's process, we have to go through this a certification. Um, Watch man. We will go through some things, and based off these things, here's some of the things we're going to cover. I do have a question when we start talking about the slot bases because I'm wondering what type slot bases you have and if you all haven't received the cabinet. When we get to that portion, it'll make more sense. So when I get to that part about the mounting the cabinet stuff, I'll ask a question to this group. So with that, some of the things we're going to be talking about today. Well, first and foremost, can everybody see my screen? All right. So some of the things we're going to cover, we're going to look at the exterior components of this cabinet. We're going to go through all the doors. I'm going to show you all via video how you go about opening these doors and what's going to be situated or found behind these doors. We're going to talk about location and removal of some of the components, that we have, your bill validators, printers, and things of that nature. We're going to talk about the software installation, but I think for the most part, um, everyone on here has been through one of the classes before as far as for certification. But there is going to be a new look based off of the OS. So we'll touch bases on the process to follow for a software installation. But I more so want to go over the new look or the things you all are going to see now based off of it's still Argos, but we've changed the look of that software itself. And we're also going to talk about safety. Starting off with safety. Again, this is like a presentation I created for everyone. But some of the things we want to always stress, it's like based off of the concerns as well as everybody's well-being when it comes to being safe. One of the things that we want to talk about is going to be, ESD or electrostatic discharge. Obviously, with electrostatic discharge, we have things that are in place to help us prevent damaging sensitive components. You have those wrist straps with the alligator clips to ground yourself out. They have like these ESD mats, things of these natures that you want to be conscious of when you're working on these cabinets. We also want you to look at, based off of things to take in consideration or precautions. It's like if you are working on, pretty much anything that is electronic or even electrical, to say the least, you want to make sure that you do remove all jewelry. Based off this jewelry, you can reach in and say you got a cabinet that's turned on and you have a power supply that has some exposed um, contacts. And when you reach in there and say you got a ring on, your jewelry's hanging, it can accidentally touch that point of contact. And then by touching that point of contact, it will pretty much will potentially damage other components within it. So when you are working on these cabinets and stuff, be aware of all your jewelry. If you can't take it off, take it all off. We do put labels inside of these cabinets. Based off these labels, some of them are notifications, letting you know based off of whatever it is that's going on in this aspect of the components or cabinet. You want to be cognizant of those, as well as we have what we call hazard labels. Based off these labels, cautions, things of these things of that nature. We put these in here again as a reminder to make everybody aware of what it is that is going on as well as their surroundings. Now, you shouldn't have to use a lot of power tools, but sometimes we do, i.e., drills and stuff. When you're using these power tools, you really want to be cognizant of what it is you're doing, especially when you're using like metal bases and things of this nature. You could potentially take metal shavings or what have you and ground things out. So when you're using metal tools, clean up behind yourself. When you're using tools, especially on metal, clean up behind yourself. Make sure that we keep our area free of, metal debris and things of that nature. Last but not least, anytime you're working on anything that has power, turn that power off. And, example I like to use is like we have certain components that are built in certain some of our cabinets, and they are what we call hot swappable parts. Based off of these hot swappable parts, I can go in literally with this cabinet being on and change this part out. But sometimes, based off of these parts that we call hot swappable, by you taking it out and putting them back in with power on, you're putting a surge or you're a amperage draw across those components that is within that cabinet. By me swapping this part out, even though it's quote hot swappable, I'm taking the chance of blowing out some other circuitry. And my thing is just like instead of me having a job that could potentially take me from the time I turn the machine off to that 2 or 3 minutes on those kind of parts to swap out and then turn the machine back on, I'd rather take that chance by me turning the cabinet off, taking that part out and swapping it, then doing a hot swap. Because if I do this hot swap again, there's a possibility that it would put a surge across certain components and then blow those components out. So my job that literally take 5 minutes, we'll say, honestly, it ends up taking me like 30 minutes. So when you're working on cabinets, just be, cognizant of those. You all don't use ladders and stuff, but if you happen to use ladders, you want to. There are some rules that we're following. I won't touch much on this because this is not what y'all are here for. But based off of safety, if you're using ladders, there are some rules you want to follow. When it comes to lifting the cabinet, or even moving things around, lifting components, period. You always want to make sure that you're always warmed up first and foremost. I mean, based off of depending upon where your shop is compared to the casino floor, that's pretty much going to be your warm up. But in between that, um, you know, stay loose and stuff, so you don't end up hurting yourself. When you're lifting things, you always want to keep your feet what we call shoulder width apart. Even if it's a small component, you still want to practice safe lifting because you can literally bend down to try to pick up a penny and throw your back out. When you are lifting these components, you want to make sure that you bend at the knees and you keep your back straight. Last thing is based off of, we have what they call a power zone. A power zone is pretty much at your elbow when your elbows is horizontal with the ground. I'm sorry, perpendicular with the ground. Then that's the lower part of your power zone. The top of your power zone will be between your shoulder from your shoulders down. So between your shoulders and your elbow, always keep your arms bent at that 9 degree and lift things up. And last, if you have to move things, go ahead and pick them up, in smaller loads if you have to. Now, for you all, this is the kind of things that you all want to see. Based off the cabinet dimensions and stuff, as you can see, it weighs approximately 330 pounds. You will have some bubble wrap around, so that may add a few more pounds here or there. The height of the cabinet is going to be 8.5 inches. The width of it is going to be 27.5 inches. And from the front of the eye deck to the back of the cabinet, you're looking at 28.4 inches. This cabinet obviously has a power supply where we can run 120 volts or even 240. But based off of 124 volts, your operating current is going to be 2.5 amps. Max load when you turn the machine on or turn all the machines on, it's going to draw approximately 4 amps. So based off the 4 amps, you want to use that 80% rule for 120 volt circuit. You're looking at putting 3 machines on the circuit. When it comes to the doors, and let's refresh this. What I'm showing y'all here, this is the cabinet you all will see. And based off of the doors, the main door, in order for you to open it, you're obviously going to take your key, you're going to insert it as you see me doing in the top photo. The bottom photo is showing you how it's going to look from the bottom. So you're going to unlock the door. Then there's going to be this little lever down here at the bottom that you're going to pull toward the front of the eye deck. So grasp it somewhere in here and you're going to pull it this way in order for the main door open. As you'll see, I will go through and I will open up the main door. And what I'm doing is I'm putting my hand on there. Now, luckily, this door, unlike some of the other cabinets, it doesn't open up as hard as it does because of the strut assembly that's in there. But I still take my hand, I put it on the front of the speaker on the main monitor to give a little bit of support when it opens. So again, we unlock the door, I'll grasp on the lever, I'll pull the lever, and at the top you saw I'm actually supporting the door to give it to allow it to open up and stuff. Main door lock pod. This was the next question that was coming up that came up. Based off the main door lock pod, as you saw in the video, it's situated on the right hand side below the eye deck. What's taking place on this one behind that release lever, and I'll show you another picture here. Behind the release lever, in here, and like right here in the middle. So this is the lock pod housing. This part up top, where you see the opening. If you follow this housing, obviously upside down, but right in here behind this release lever, there's a screw that goes in there. So in order for you to take the lock pod off, you want to pull this, well, obviously it's going to be unlocked. Pull this release lever forward, and then you'll be able to take a Phillips screwdriver, take that screw out, and this lock pod will pull out toward the front. Did that answer the question regarding the lock pod? All right. It's actually one of the easiest things I think we have to go about taking it out. Now, oops, go. Yeah. When it comes to putting it back in, and let me pause here. And I apologize, based off my camera, it's pretty blurry. But what's taking place with that lock pod off, you have like this little silver arm over here. This is what actually holds it in place. The screw is what secures it in place. In this video, what you're going to see, I'm actually going to go and reinstall the lock pod. So we'll let the video play. And I'm got my Phillips screwdriver with the screw that comes with the lock pod. I'm going to take the lock pod. I'm going to slide it in. Once I get it slid in place, one hand is going to kind of hold the lock pod into place. The other hand, I'm going to have the Phillips screwdriver with the screw on it, and I'm going to screw it in. I.e., here's the lock pod coming in, kind of like a little bit of an angle. Got it up in there. I'll hold it with one hand in place. Pull the release lever forward with that same hand, and then I'll take, again, the Phillips screwdriver with the screw on it, and I'll screw it in. So I'll pull this lever forward a little to allow me to get to that screw. And of course, my hand is in the way, but I think y'all get the idea, how this works now. I really got to get a different angle for that shot. All right. Next thing we want to talk about is like based off the audio board. When you open up that cabinet, the main door, on the right-hand side of the cabinet on the back wall, there's an audio board. Based off the audio board, you're going to have three connections. One was the USB, as you saw me disconnect. The other one is going to be the power. And then you're going to have this one connector that's going to have probably like 10, 12 wires coming out of it. That's going to be your cable for your speaker. So this is your speaker. The USB is down here at the bottom, and this is going to be your power. If you're having any issues with your audio board, it's obviously controlled through this pretty much amplifier. You're going to have to replace it. And I mean, this is like, most of the time, there's never ever speakers are always going to be an issue with the audio board. When you go to take the audio board out, you're going to have 4 screws. I got 3 that are shown. I have a screw here, have a screw here, and then there's one more right behind that USB cable. To remove it, you're obviously going to take those 4 screws out. But when you go to replace it, you want to make sure, again, you use all 4 screws, because what's taking place, these screws serve as a grounding point for that board. The reason why I stress this is like the cabinets are very rigid. You can't twist them, turn them, bend them, it's like we can with a piece of paper. But and again, the purpose of this is with the 4 screws, if I was to say take 3 screws, 2 of the screws I got pretty snug, but let's say the screw up at the top here and the one down here at the bottom, they're in there, but they're loose. Someone walking by and they bump the cabinet. If they bump it just right, what will happen is this board will lift up off of that contact or that standoff that's in the back, And when it goes back to touch that standoff, it's going to short the board out. A lot of time I've seen like this component over here, this IC chip blows. Very rare do I see the capacitors blow, but I mean, you got an IC chip in there, it's pretty vulnerable. Or even this like transistor over here could potentially blow. So when you're repairing replacing the audio board, I won't say repairing it, but when you're replacing this board, make sure that you go ahead and you put those four screws back in and make sure they're very secure. Next thing is going to be our LCU board. This cabinet obviously has like LED trim that goes around the cabinet, and the purpose of the LCU is to control all of the lighting based off the connections. And again, you can see right here, port one is identical to port 2, 3, 4. We have 8 of these ports that are on this audio LCU board. They all look identical, and we look at the schematic. They are obviously alike, but what they do is like based off of each of these different connector ports, they're programmed to run X amount of LEDs. I'm pointing this out because based off of if you have to replace the LCU, we all carry around our phone. Based off of our phone, take a picture of your connections. This way you'll know where they go. I mean, the harness based off the wiring harness, the connections would normally fall into place, but still take a picture of so this way you can plug these connectors back into the correct port or the port that they came out of. Also, too, what I always suggest is, and in this instance, you got 4 cables that's going to be plugged into the LCU. Go ahead and label at least the 3 down here at the bottom. Label 2 of those, so that way, like this one here that says port 6, I wouldn't label that one, but the other one I will go ahead and label so that way I'll know the other 2 cables go into the ports that they need to go into. So that way there's no confusion. Just like the audio board, it's secured in with 4 screws. You got 2 on each side. It has a USB cable that obviously plugs into our backplane board to based off the programming, and also has power. Here we're going to be using our Salem CPU, or better yet, I call it the 5X. The 5X CPU has a couple of things that's going on with it. Now, I pause this, and that's a terrible picture, but so I can stop this to where it makes it very clear. Based off of this CPU, a few things you're going to see that's going to be different, very different than our 4X CPU, is based off of, first and foremost, the layout. But over here, right down here where it says BAT2 and BAT1, we now have a 2-pin jumper. Based off this 2-pin jumper, you have this connector that goes on the top. When you're looking at it, and you can barely make it out, but you can see like a tab, my jumpers are not covering those pins. What that does is that takes pretty much in your circuitry, turns the batteries off in essence, makes the batteries last longer. So when you get your CPUs, you want to make sure that you look in at BAT1 as well as BAT2. Take those jumpers and cover the 2 pins. With those 2 pins covered, that battery is now in circuitry and it will function the way it functions. Now, the downfall to this is if you were to say not move those jumpers or put the batteries into the layout or the circuitry for the CPU will, when you turn the cabinet on, function as it normally will. Unfortunately, as soon as you get a power hit or something, what's going to take place is everything that was programmed into the hard drive, which is right here, that information will be lost. So the purpose of these batteries is to help the hard drive maintain information that is programmed into it. Also in here, we're going to have, let me go and get ahead of myself. This is your batteries in the very back, so they will be situated in the back. You still will have the 2 banks of double A batteries. You're going to have 2 obviously that's going to be on the left and 2 that's going to be on the right. As soon as you take one of the batteries out, what's going to take place, anything again that's programmed into the hard drive, that information will be lost. So my point here is like, if you have to change the batteries, let's say it complains about it gives you an error of low BAT1 or even low BAT2. Since you're changing out the 1 bank of batteries, go ahead and change out both banks because I mean, some of us carry around a multimeter, but instead of me sitting here wondering like if my other set of batteries are good, I'm just going to go through and change all four. In order for you to take the battery housing out, right to the left of my index finger here, there is this thumb screw. You will take that thumb screw, loosen this thumb screw, and what's going to happen in the very back, you'll be able to pull the battery housing out, and there's a connector on it. Disconnect it, change your batteries, reconnect the cable connection. Um, Go ahead and reinsert your battery and seat it, and then you obviously have to go through and reprogram it because, again, once you take one battery out, everything that's programmed in that hard drive will be lost. This is what I was telling y'all about the jumpers. The one on the left, this is incorrect, or pretty much the battery is disabled. So if you turn the cabinet on, the batteries are not doing anything. And then the one on the right, this is showing you how it should look when it's actually you want the batteries to store the information for the hard drive. Next, we're going to have the USB ports. We're going to have two different types. The black ones are going to be pretty much for anything that are licensed keys. So if we have like a game theme that requires a license, you can use those black ports that are within the CPU. But you probably have available USB ports that will be on on the back plane board. We also have two blue USB ports. These USB ports are used only for installation. So based off the thumb drives that you'll receive, one of them will obviously be an install thumb drive. One of them may be a bundle that will have your Windows, your jurisdiction, as well as your operating system. And then you'll have another thumb drive that will be the game theme. These are the ports that you will use to go about installing all of that software. We have a BIOS. This is a 16 megabit BIOS. Based off of this is programmable if you had to program it or overwrite it for, if they were to upgrade your BIOS. So this is programmable. But by default, you will have some jumpers, and hopefully I'll show you that. You have some jumpers that are pretty much placed to where you cannot write to the BIOS. As you saw, I'm pointing out the video card. Those are going to be your memory cards. Again, your video card is there. These are your video connections. You're going to have 4 video connections depending on, based off the CPU. Now, they will be labeled on the CPU cover. Based off the way they're labeled, this over here, the one to the far left, this is going to be V1. V1 is going to be for your main door. Port number 2 will be labeled V2. This will be for your iDeck. Port 3 will be for your top display, if you have a top display based off of your cabinet. And then V4 will be used for your topper assembly. Now, for your particular cabinet, you're going to be using V1, V2, and V3 because you only have 3 displays on this particular cabinet. Any questions on that? All right. On the front of the CPU, it again looks just like our fourth, but we made a few changes. Here you're going to have your status LEDs. Your status LEDs as well as your 7-segment display. Now, these are actually really good for troubleshooting because based off of troubleshooting, your CPU status or the little 7-segment display, it displays a certain code. Now, based off of this code, what I tell everyone, especially when you know you have a new CPU and you have a cabinet that's up and running successful, take a picture of at least your CPU status, 7-segment display, as well as your LEDs that are over here. Because based off of you taking a picture of a known good CPU, you can look at that photo and then look at your 778 code and say, okay, this is good. You can also take a look at, based off of, this cabinet has a DCM or a DC control module. Pretty much, it'll have a DCM and it'll have a 24-volt power supply. The 24-volt power supply will supply all the voltage to everything in the cabinet that needs 24 volts. Everything else is going to be controlled through this DCM. Based off of the DCM, in order for you to identify if it is good or not, again, you can take a look at your LEDs that's on the front of the CPU. One of them will be for your 24 volt. One will be for your 3.3 volt. One will be for your 5 volt. One of the LEDs will also tell you if the CPU is actually good or not. So by looking at those, that will help you to troubleshoot. Also on the front of the CPU, we have, again, two more blue USB 3.0 ports. These ports are enabled, but in order for you to install software, now this is very important. When it comes to installing the software, you have to take your install thumb drive and insert it in any one of the blue USB ports that is inside the CPU. All of your other thumb drives that you're going to use as far as installing software, you can use these ports here. But to start, again, you want to take only the install thumb drive and insert it into the blue USB port that is on the inside of the MPU itself. All right. Then on here, we're going to have what we call a gap port. Based off of gap, we do have certain jurisdictions that like to use, instead of looking at the diagnostics menu to see what the SHA signature, SHA, I can't even speak this morning, what the SHA signatures are for that is installed in their cabinet. They have a laptop that has a DB9 connector. They can plug it in to this gap port to do their forensics on the cabinet. We also have the two Ethernet ports. Both Ethernet ports are enabled. So if you have like two systems, you can actually run two different systems through this cabinet using these Ethernet ports. Lastly, we have what we call the self-test button. The self-test button is what we'll use to get into the operator's menu. So instead of you having to look around in the cabinet for what a self-test button it's located or situated at now, you'll actually find it on the front of the CPU itself. We have the nickel cell battery. This nickel cell battery, the purpose of this for everybody to understand is like, it tracks like all your door openings and things of this nature. So based off of, even if the cabinet does not have power, when that cabinet leaves here in Las Vegas from our warehouse, we can monitor based off of if the doors will open and close, at any time. And also keeps your clock up and things of that nature. Here is your logic door switch. This time what we've done, we've actually taken two switches that they're put in here. 90% of the time you shouldn't have any issues, but if you're looking at the cabinet on the screen based off of the tilts on the lower right-hand side of the cabinet, which when you're on your door when the power is on, if you see the L, capital L as one of the tilts, it's talking about these switches right here. They're not engaging. They're real easy to change out, but I've never really seen any of them break or go bad. But if you do have an issue with logic door, one of the things you can actually do is see if these arms are actually straight. They may be bent slightly. They're bent slightly, straighten them back out, and that should correct your that should correct your issue with the logic door. But again, if you have to replace it, you got two, I think these are 5.5 millimeter screws that are here. And then you have this cable that you disconnect. So you just take those two nuts off, disconnect the cable, swap it. You can go ahead and swap your logic door switch out. Now this is also back to the battery, so you can actually see a better picture of that thumb drive that thumb screw that I was telling you about. So you'll simply loosen that thumb screw and you'll push out from here, and you'll take the batteries out from the back. And I'm actually going to be taking the battery removal. So yeah, here we go. I'm take the loosen this thumb screw, and should be only thumb screw tight. You don't want it to be too tight. And as you saw, I push out a little bit. I'm gonna pull it to my right a little, and now I can go ahead and swap out my batteries, or I can even well, if you disconnect this cable, you're gonna lose, definitely gonna lose everything that's going to the hard drive. But if you're replacing the batteries, you don't necessarily have to disconnect that cable. But even though you didn't disconnect that cable, as soon as you take one battery out of the circuitry, that circuitry now will wipe everything in the hard drive. But that's how you go about removing the battery itself. Now the logic door is removable. To install it, I mean, to remove is going to be the complete opposite. As you saw, I put the logic door in place. Um, but now I'm trying to work it a little bit. And what's going to take place over here on the right hand side, there's this thumb screw again. We'll tighten that thumb screw up, and this logic door is now mounted back to the CPU itself. Nice thing about this is you can actually, based off of how whatever your process is, you can take the logic doors off, let your team go ahead and put the locks on the CPU door and then you can take the CPU while they're doing that. Go ahead and put it in the cabinet, install your software, and get everything all set up so when they bring the logic door back out, you can go ahead and just based off of you go through the process that you all go through to bring your game back online. When it comes to removing the CPU out of the cabinet, it's actually pretty easy. As you can see, you'll unlock the logic door. I'm going to disconnect all the DP connections. Now, again, when it comes to the DP connections, what I've done is, as you can see, I've taken tape and I've labeled mine. They are supposed to be labeled based off of what port they go in, well, better yet, if they are not, definitely get yourself some tape and label these cables based off of your video connections. Then you'll disconnect these cables, and then once you get these cables disconnected, you can now grasp on the handle of the logic door, as you can see, and it has to be open. But I will grasp on that handle, and I will pull my CPU out. That's pretty straightforward. When it comes to the backplane board is obviously where we have, everything is all connected, but they made this cabinet fairly easy to where you can actually remove the backplane board should you have to. Now, based off the backplane board, and let me just go back just a little bit. Based off the backplane board, what they've done is instead of them taking screws and hiding them, and this again is to remove the whole housing. If you and this depends upon how you all go about if you all just want to replace the board or replace the housing. If you order the assembly, and based off the part number, you could potentially get just a PCB board, or you can go and get the whole housing that has a PCB board. If you order the whole housing with the PCB board, to remove the housing, there's that 7 millimeter nut that my nut driver is on right now. There's one right up here at the top, and then there's one right behind this cable here. The two on the side, you just loosen those. The one down here in the bottom, this one will be removed. Once you get that removed, all your cables disconnected, you will lift up a little bit to where this opening, the teardrop openings, is above those, is right centered of those nuts that you loosen. And then you can take and pull this backplane board forward and remove it and then replace it. Again, depending upon what process you all follow, if you do the whole housing, they made it real easy to take the whole housing out. If you do it at board level, you'll see, I think there's like 18 screws. You got one here, there's one here. You'll see all the brass screws that's on the backplane board. You'll go through and remove those. And once you got those removed, you can then go ahead and pull this backplane board out. So depending upon what process you all follow, board, just the screws that holds the PC board, that secures the PC board to the housing. If you do the whole assembly, you just got the three nuts, two that you loosen and one that you remove to take this backplane board out. Any questions on that one while we watch this video go through? Now, just so y'all know, in the video, I made it look real easy, but I had to pause the video or cut the video a few times because based off of the cabling harness, over here in this corner, That's where it all bunches up at. My CPU was actually catching on that corner. So I had to I finagled a little bit. And I took that whole harness and I lifted it up, and then I obviously took my backplane board out. Oh, don't want that one. Power supply modulator, the device I was telling you all about that controls all of the your lower voltages. It's actually again real easy to take out. But if you're having issues with your 3.3, your 12 volt, your 5 volt, this is going to be your problem child. And they made it real easy to take it out. Obviously, I have mine out of my machine, but it's just as easy even in the cabinet. You'll have again this one, and I'll go back. 7 millimeter nut driver. I just loosen that up, and then once I got that loosened, you'll see me grasp on that handle, pull it out, and based off of when you go to put it back in, you'll do it in the opposite, do it in the reverse. Now, if you are back to that backplane board real quick, if you are going to be just replacing the board, as you see, you have to take the DCM or power supply modulator out to get to the another screw that's right below that power supply modulator. And again, all these brass screws are the screws that you will take out in that cabinet. Now, blanking plate. Our blanking plate. Come on, open. Our blanking plate, they made it fairly easy, but there's one thing you all need to know about this blanking plate. If you have to go and service the iDeck, you're going to have to take this blanking plate off. To take the blanking plate off, as you can see, there's only two Phillips screws that you have to take out. Once you get those two screws out, you can take that plate, lift it up, set it to the side, for later use. But once you get that blanket plate off, right back here in the back mouse, this little shiny reflection area, there is a thumb screw that actually holds the iDeck in place. So it's kind of hidden. But to take the blanking plate off first and foremost, it's fairly easy. And then you can see you got two Phillips screws for the area where you can put your player tracking in. Should you want to work on the BV bezel as well as the printer bezel, again, you have to take the blanket plate off, but you do have the screws for our printer bezel up here. Screw here, take those out. That comes out. Same thing for the bezel for the BV. You got a screw over here that you'll take out, and this housing comes out. But that blanket plate has to come off. And again, I'm going to show you all the different a better angle of that screw, but I just want to put that in there since we had this part. If you have to take the iDeck off, and it comes off fairly easy, but there is a hidden screw right down here by this little reflected area. And again, I'll show you all that here in a little bit. For the BV and the printer, we still use our traditional in this cabinet, the inline or stacked BV as well as printer. In order for you to put the printer into the service position, as you saw, we have this lever now that you'll take and you'll pull on this lever and pull it forward. And it will lock the BV and printer into place. To put it back into the operator's position, you can see we have that little thumb screw. You'll pull on that thumb screw, you grasp the lever, and you'll go and you can push it back into place for the service position. Again, pull tab. This will help you unlock the BV and printer when it's in the service position. When it comes to removing the BV and printer, they made it fairly easy. Now, this is a video, it's no audio, and I'll pretty much talk you through it. You're obviously going to go through, you're going to have to open up your main door. You're going to power the cabinet down. Based off of powering the cabinet down, we can now go over to our validator. We can put it into the service position. Based off of putting in the service position, there's going to be a couple of screws and my angle is going to change here. You're going to have a screw that's going to be holding the printer into place. Based off of removing the printer, you got a screw, obviously your power cable, sorry. Disconnect your power cable. Under the bottom of the printer, not a screw, there's going to be this lever. You're going to press on this lever, and when you press on that lever, and everybody knows this, you'll pull the printer out. With the printer out, we now have this housing that actually holds the printer in place. There's two screws. You got a screw here that you see me that I'm going to take out, and then you're going to have one down here at the bottom of this frame that holds the printer housing in place. You'll take those two out. And again, this is only really if you're taking the validator out. The printer, as you saw, that's fairly easy. But to take the validator out, housing, to change it out, you'll take this housing and you'll take it off and you'll disconnect it. Now, one of the things to point out, back up just a little, based off of that housing, what it has like these guide pins. So if if you take a real quick look, you'll see when I lift it up, and I'll try to stop it to show that housing. But I'll take those two screws out again. That's a good pitch. So here's a guide pin here, and here's a guide pin here. So that helps you with the alignment. Reason why I point this out, based off of and depending upon the day, when manufacturing builds these cabinets, they are only required to put in this one screw here. And it pretty much, it will keep the transport housing into place as well as the printer and the validator. If you go and say you got to swap out the printer the validator for a different validator, you go to take that one screw out, and when you lift this plate off, you should, in essence, be able to reach in and grab that transport housing for the BV, lift it up and out. If when you go to grasp it, to try to lift it up and out, and it doesn't come out, inside the cash box in that housing, you may find 4 screws in the back. Production is not required to do that, but depending upon the day of the week, they may be overzealous and take the screws that hold this housing into place, as well as put screws inside the BV housing itself. And I'm pretty sure I'm pointing that out in the video. But so take a look. You'll see these guide pins. I have to take the screw out. I'll lift it up, and then I'll disconnect my printer housing. And in this instance, you will see, based off my transport housing, it does not have the screws. But again, I'm pointing out here, based off of if you want to put it back into the service position, the operator's position, put it back in the operator's position to get access to the cash box to see if there are 4 screws in this cabinet. So I'm pretty much showing you, I'm opening up the cash box access door. I'm going to open up the cash box door. I'm going to remove my cash box. I'm going to change the angle of my camera, and I'm going to take a look. But like I said, in my instance, my cabinet did not have these 4 screws. So what I ended up doing is now I'm going to grasp my transport housing, and I can lift it up and out and disconnect the cables as needed. You don't necessarily have to put it in a service position, but if you wanted to, you can. But it made it pretty easy to where if you're changing out from, say, a JCM to an MEI, it's fairly easy. And then you're obviously going to have your connector in the back. You disconnect it, take your new transport housing, put it back in, connect all your wiring and stuff, put your printer mounting bracket back in, secure it in, put your printer in, and you're done and out the way. We all good on that one? The BV and the validator? Right. Again, I'm just showing you about how to go about remove the BV bezel and all that stuff if you wanted to. That's pretty straightforward. All right, let's go into the belly door. Based off of the belly door, they changed. You will no longer have a lock on it. What you're going to have is you're going to have this little lever. You will take this lever, you will lift up on the lever, and the belly door opens. So you no longer have to worry about a lock there. Behind the belly door, as you saw, find this. Behind the belly door, there's no components that's going to be in there. But something I want to point out, and we'll talk about this when it comes to mounting. You will see there's going to be a shipping plate that is going to be at the bottom of this cabinet. And again, that plate is there, for shipping. But when you go to remove that shipping plate, behind the belly door, you got this screw right here. this screw is going to have to come out. Behind the cash box access door, there's another screw that you'll take out to take that plate off. But I just want you to know, based off of behind the belly door, there's really no components, but the only thing you really need to worry about is this one screw down here because this is the screw that secures it to that mounted plate. The subwoofer is this little opening you see right here. So we took it and raised it up off the floor and put it behind the pretty much in between the I deck, below the power supply, and the bottom of the slot base itself. The AC power distribution, yours will not be as identical to mine, but it's situated right next to the subwoofer, behind the belly door. You'll have, again, 4 7 millimeter nuts if you have to take it out, two on each side to take it out. But yours will be a little different. Mine, this is Proto B, I think it was. They were looking at doing two different switches. On yours, it will only be one switch. You will still have the 6 plugs. As you can see, you will have 2 sets that will be unswitched. So anything you plug into these, power will always be on those. And then you'll have one set that has 2 plugs on it that will be that you can control through the power switch itself. Again, I'm just showing you how to go about removing if you have to remove it. Any questions about what will be found behind the belly door? Everybody good here? All right, let's take a look at the top monitor. Based off the top monitor, it is removable. Again, and it's actually real easy to remove, even the main door monitor. And what I will be doing, I will be providing to the group, Kevin, Brian, more so, the link for our YouTube page. I have a video that shows you how to go about removing the main monitor as well as the top monitor. But the top monitor obviously serves its purpose of doing what it does to display stuff. When it comes to, and let's turn that off. When it comes to if you have to replace or work on the candle, we have what we call, there's going to be 4 screws. You got a screw here, screw here, screw here, and screw here. Yes, you have to take the cover off in order to get to the candle to replace it or repair it if you need to. But hopefully, I don't again recall candles going out that much, but it's possible that you may. Based off of with that cover off, this is all in the wrong order. I apologize. I'm showing you here based off of if you had the main door open, you're going to have 2 screws. One's going to be on the left-hand side. So and this is probably the worst angle, but over here, this is like that little LED bar that we have that's on the main cabinet. And inside that, behind the monitor, you will see a screw at the bottom of your top display. This up here at the very top is the bottom of my top display. So you'll have a screw there, and you'll have a screw also on the right-hand side, different angle, but the same thing. You will take these 2 screws out. Inside the cabinet, you will follow that cable that goes down for your DP cable. Follow that cable down, disconnect that, and then based off of you disconnecting the cable from your CPU, one person can lift up on the display. The other person can guide the cables through the little opening in the back to take that display off, should you have to. Now back to my candle. And I need to change this order around. I'll correct that. But when you take that back cover off, the candles actually, again, fairly easy to change out. You're going to have obviously a cable that's going to be your candle harness, and you're going to also have a grounding strap. You'll disconnect the grounding strap, and then you'll disconnect the cable that runs all your lighting and everything. And then you have 2 screws. One's going to be on the left-hand side, top view, and one's going to be on the right-hand side, bottom view. Take those out, and you can service that candle as you need to. Cash box access door. You're obviously going to need a key, but some of the things they made different on this one is based off of our past cabinets, you needed the key to unlock and lock the cabinet. With this one, they made it to where, and if I can pause this just right, it's blurry, What they've done now is on the Cashbox access door, as well as the Cashbox door, they have these spring like fingers on the side now. So you can now, you only need your key to open the doors. You don't need them to lock them back. So once you want to close it, and you'll see in the video here, I'll start it again. I'll take my key out and I want to close it. It's just a matter of me just lifting the door and it'll lock it back into place. Obviously, I'm over dramatic here, removing the cash boxes to show that it does come out, but we'll put the cash box back in. Without the key, I'll grab my cash box door. I'll grasp on it, lift it up, and it will lock into place. And the same thing with the cash box access door. It has the same mechanism to where I just lift it and lock it into place. Power supply. Power supply is going to be situated right below the CPU. Power supply is fairly easy to change. The only issue I saw with if I had to change out my power supply was based off of once I got all my cables disconnected, there's these two screws that you'll obviously take out. But based off of because the power supply is situated right up above the subwoofer, when you go to press it down, you're gonna have to give it a little bit of a little force to get it to actually to come out. And I'll put that out here. So what I did was, and let me stop it. Oh no, wrong one. I'm gonna speed up. What I did was I pretty much I pried it down a little bit, and after I got my two screws out, and made it easy to pull out. But trust me, it's like really hard to push it down. I think based off the way the subwoofer and the back of the power supply to where it's angled, it gives you not enough room, but enough room to where you can't take it out. And I think the point I want to stress is like once you get these two screws out and obviously all the connections disconnected, you're gonna have to take like some type of device. And I think I pried it, like over here, this is my power cord for the power supply. There's an area in there that you can actually take like a flat tip screwdriver or something, stick it in there and push up on it a little bit to allow you to get the power supply to fall down as you saw it in here. And then I was able to lift it out. So the power supply is fairly easy to take out, but with that pressure, so you see, I had to push it down a little bit, and I actually took something in there to get it to come down enough to where, based off the video, I was able to take it out. But for the most part, it's fairly easy. I think we just got to work on that angle. And if I pause here real quick, this is what I was telling you. So based off of the back of the power supply, this is the top of the subwoofer. So in between, imagine a power supply that being at the bottom of that subwoofer. And when you're going to press down, that it's not angled enough to where it will just allow it to drop down. So you have to pry it down a little bit to get that power supply to fall down to allow you to grasp it and then pull it out. Software. Based off of software, we've added a couple things in to make everybody's life much easier. But based off our software, what we've done, we've actually changed the look of it. And based off of this, I'm pretty sure everybody understands how to go about installing the software. You're also going to need your thumb drive, install thumb drive to start. You go through your install your software. Based off of the screen, what you're going to see, and I think we came out with this version like OS 3.13. But what you're seeing on the screen and basically what it's asking you, you do have the ability to do a full RAM clear. You also have the ability, based off of full RAM clear, to do a RAM clear persistent data. I'll explain that here in a little bit. But you also have the ability to do what we call a game state. Game state says this, and I'll start with that one first. If you happen to have a cabinet that's up and operational, and based off of it being up and operational, you get this tilt. And let's say it was complaining about the main door being open, but you know for a fact that the main door is closed because you can see it physically that it is closed. What you can do is open up the logic door on the CPU, power cycle the game. When you power cycle the game, it's going to come into this menu right here. Select game state, and you'll confirm it. And when you confirm, what it's going to do, it's going to bring that game back to the last state it was in before you were able to clear that tilt. So game state will clear any hard tilt that you can't clear, but it will not clear any current values, any of your settings or anything. So it pretty much just brings the game back to the last state it was in before it got to whatever the problem was. Now, when it comes to doing a full RAM clear, if you select only full RAM clear, that will just go through and it will erase all of your settings. Will not will not erase your software that you have that's installed, but it will erase all of your settings. Based off of the full RAM clear, if you were to select the RAM clear persistent data, that's going to clear out all of your options, all of your settings, and everything. And based off of this feature here, within about the program, we have the ability to do what we call restore our cabinet back to its original options that it had that was in the cabinets for its settings. If you were to select the full as well as the RAM clear persistent data, and I'm playing the video while I'm talking, it's on the easy config screen based off that local machine option. If you do the RAM clear persistent data, that feature will not work. If you want to restore the cabinet, clear out all the options, but restore the cabinet back to where it was originally was as far as all your settings, but make it like pretty much the game starting all over new. Do not select the RAM clear persistent data. And I'm trying to and based off the is everybody with me or do I better yet? Let me clarify. Sorry. If you were to not select the RAM clear persistent data, and then I go into my easy config feature, I select the local machine, what it will do based off of all of my options and everything I have that's in that cabinet, when I go ahead and I accept that, it will restore my cabinet back to the options and everything that I had. Again, it will be a new game because the game we won't have like any meters or any games being played of that nature. If you were to select that feature, RAM clear persistent data, it will erase everything. Let's speed this video up a little bit. This is our easy config menu. Do you all use the easy config feature? All right. Based off of easy config, exactly. Thank you for that, Brian and Kevin, for confirming. Based off of easy config makes it to where you can actually go through, have one cabinet. Now, you're obviously going to have software installed on all the other cabinets, but all the other cabinets, you're going to leave it on the easy config window. The one cabinet you're still going to have to option out. So based off that very first cabinet, you want to go through, you're going to select skip. Easy config, again, allows us to option out one cabinet to include your protocols for your host communications, progressives, anything and everything. You can option out this one cabinet. Based off of option out this one cabinet, you can share it over all the other cabinets. Again, you're all already familiar with this feature, so that's good to know. Based off of this feature, there are two settings, however, that you will have to set. And every cabinet has this information is unique for each one. Each cabinet will have its own serial number, and each cabinet you will have to go in and set up your asset ID or pretty much your location. Everything else based off this one cabinet that we've optioned out, it will carry over into the other cabinets. The one thing that has to happen or be in place in order for you to use this easy config feature is your game themes has to be the same pretty much as far as your math and everything. So if you have, say, a money link cabinet and you have a Monopoly balloon cash game, I cannot share those configurations from one cabinet over to the other because it's going to give me an incompatibility error. So long as my game themes, Monopoly Balloon Cash, game number one, Monopoly Balloon Cash, game number two, so on and so forth, I can share these configurations throughout the cabinet. But again, you all are already familiar with that, so we won't get into that. What you will see now, based off of the new look, this is going to be our new look that you're going to see. Now, it's still Argos. It's still Argos software, but the nice thing about this is they've made it pretty much easier, and I'll let my video play as I talk. The look may be different, but based off machine information, you can see that everything is right here in front of you. What they've done though, they've given you a couple of different ways to go about looking for information. They've even provided what we call quick links. Based off of these quick links, what they did was they went out and they looked at what are the most common quick links that they use, and they've created these quick links. And based off of you see, I'm just going through some of these tabs. We went in, we did the machine accounting by clicking on that quick link. I can go through all the different things for accounting. Use that quick link for a machine accounting. Under machine accounting, I go and get my game accounting, my progressive values, any cash that was put in. I can even go in and clear out my periodic meters should I want to. But they have a quick link to allow you to do that. Yeah, I just advanced that a little bit. We even have, event history. Again, you can hit on your the quick links, and you can go through, and you can, based off of what it is you're looking for, go through those different menus and find whatever it is you're looking for. And we've gone through that one. Now, what we've also done is we've made it to where instead of you having to, go into the menu and try to find where you can set your sound settings, it's all right here on the front on your home screen. You can control your sound settings. You can put the machine out of order. Come on. I knew I would click and go too far, but you can go through. You can control your volume and all of that. Close that. You can put the machine out of service if you wanted to. We have a power save mode. Based off the power save mode, what that does is, and I get y'all casinos may or may not do it, but let's say your casino was open, say, certain times of the day. You can go in and have this cabinet to where it's like based off of whatever time the casino closed, you can option it out to where at this time I wanted to go into power save mode. It doesn't turn the machine off, but it will put in a power save mode to where you can actually save power. What you'll also see, and again, this is based off of your OS, you have the ability to, do QR codes. And these QR codes, I'll explain once we get to it right here. These QR codes, and based off of our OS, and it was OS 306 and higher is where we implemented this feature. It allows you to take your phone out, and this is saying if you are having an issue with a cabinet and you're calling in, you can go in, take your phone, you can scan these QR codes and take that information, send it over to the people that you're speaking to on the phone, and they can take it and give it to engineering, and engineering can take a look at, based off of some of the things you have. But they've added one more thing. The one thing about these QR codes, though, they are unique to each cabinet because based off of hardware information, software information, it records a certain number based off of that cabinet. So if you're having an issue with a cabinet, scan the QR code based off of whatever protocol it is y'all follow. If when you're calling calls in, scan these QR codes, provide the information to them for that particular cabinet, and they'll do what they got to do. But we've added one more thing to make life much easier as well. You can now also report an issue almost instantly. Based off reporting the issue, when you hit that button, it's going to show you this QR code. You're going to take your phone out. You're going to take a picture of that QR code. Then what's going to happen on your phone, you're going to see this report come up. Based off of this, you can now submit an issue. You can give them details about what it is that you're seeing that's going on. You can put your email address in. You can even take pictures based off of what all is you're seeing, and then you can submit, and that will put it into our service queue, instantly. So you no longer have to sit there and worry about, um, calling, and then what if somebody's going to come out? You can actually report it right then and there. And pretty much what I'm showing you, I took my phone out, I scanned the QR code, I tapped on the link that it gave me. When I tapped on that link on my phone, this is what it showed me over here on the right-hand side, the report issue. You can go in again, and as you see, you can provide any information you want. I don't think there's a limitation on characters. I don't think so. But I mean, be as it give them as much detail as you possibly can. Provide your email, and then if you can also provide pictures, and then you can submit it right then and there. So you can have someone come out and take a look at that cabinet. A couple more things I want to point out about our software that I thought I had covered in Unlock. And we'll don't want to play this. So we've given you more than one way to actually go about also doing things. Like I said, we have the quick links. These are the links that are used more so than anything else. But you can now also have this search feature that's up here on the right hand side. If you are looking for something, say, that had anything to do with progressives, by you type in the word progressive, everything that is programmed in the software that pertains to progressives will appear, in a drop down list. Based off that drop down list, you're going to see progressive current values. You can select progressive current values, and it will take you right to that tab. So you no longer have to sit and wonder, like, do I have to go to my meters tab, my events tab, or even diagnostics? You can type in, and these are going to be keywords based off of like meters. If you want to look up meters, type in meters. If you want to do history, type in history. If you want to do like easy config, you type in easy config. If you're looking for um, NBC, you can type in NBC. But based off of the look you all going to see, we've given you the ability to actually go out and do a search as well. So you no longer have to wonder what menu you have to go through. Again, what they've also done is I'm on the top right hand corner. You will see this triangle with the exclamation point on it. This is the same as your pinned tilts. So if you don't want to see your pinned tilts, right here on the bottom right, you can tap on this icon here and it'll show you the same thing that you see down there. Your information button, based off of, you can tap this button, it's going to show you again all your machine information. You have meters that, based off of the meters that are seen more so or require more so than anything else. You can get that from here. And then you can also see, based off of event history, what has been happening. What you will also see when it comes to setting up this cabinet, since you all use the easy configure, probably doing progressives, we now have a tab down here at the bottom that's also NBC. Based off of NBC, this is how we go about setting up our NBC progressive. Now, does the new OS allow us to add money to standalone progressive links? So yes, based off of, and again, the only thing that's different is just the look. But based off of all the optioning that you all are familiar with the old Argos, you still have all those same features. So in this game, if I had a standalone, I will obviously, be in my setup menu. Based off my setup menu, I will go to my progressive controllers. Under my progressive controller, the standalone, before you start it, you will have your reset amount, you will have your increment rate, and then you have a window that says override amount. Based off that override amount, this is where you will add that money in. But remember, based off of the way L&W work, you have to take the reset value and whatever monies it is that you want to add to or to have displayed on the game, add those two values together. So say I got 10,000 bucks as my reset, and I'm going to add 500 bucks to where when my game comes up, it's going to be 10,500. In my window under the override amount, I'm going to write 10,000, type in 10,500. So you're saying the old OS would not allow you to add money to the standalone progressive one? Oh, after RAM clear. So, better yet, I should have read the whole question. So long as if the game is in gameplay, or you have credits or anything like that, yeah, you won't be able to add any override any values. You have to have the game to where first and foremost there are no the game is not in play and there are no credits on the game. With no credits on the game, you should be able to. And I should have that's something else that I think I'm gonna add to my repertoire. I need to remote into a cabinet because I can demonstrate that for you all. As a matter of fact, where are we at in here? Everybody take a quick 10 minutes. I'm going to go remote into one of my cabinets and I'll share that with y'all. So take 10 minutes. I got 9:10 here. I'll be back at 9:20, and I'll show you that option. So take that 10. I'll be right back. All right, we got like 2 more minutes. I think everybody that's going to be attending is here. I got a game, so everybody's wondering, in case you all are wondering what's on the screen. Based off of where we left off yesterday, there was a question being asked about, based off of for standalone progressives, if you have the ability to, adjust or better yet, override the current values. And I got a game, and for whatever reason, when I played it this morning, it went into this bonus, and that's what y'all are seeing on the screen right now. It's still got like 20 games to play. I'm sitting here trying to speed up so I can show y'all based off of you do have the ability to override current values. So in case y'all are wondering, that's what I got this on the screen right now. Um, I have another game based off of the question that was asked. I'm gonna go with this one. Let's move this one over here. This is another game that I have. No, I want you to be full screen. And let's make that bigger. Scroll down. This is another game that I have that doesn't have any credits on it, but based off of as it was asked, do you have based off of the standalone progressive, can you override the current value? Again, this is the new OS that everyone will see. Based on this OS, you simply just go into your setup menu. Under your setup menu, you want to go over to your progressive tab. On your progressive tab, you got, based off of your progressive tab, again, under the EGM menu, you got three tabs. You got configure progressive combos. Of course, you can't do anything with that once the cabinet has been optioned. You have your MML net based off of your internal progressive controller. And then on your standalone, this particular game has a standalone. When I go into it, you will see based off of, and again, this is a new game, but I have nothing for my override amount. You can click in this window. Based off this window, you can go ahead and put in whatever it is that you want to add to the reset value. So in this example, my reset value is $750, and you tell me you want me to add, say, another $100. In my override amount window, I'm going to take that 750 plus the 100 that you want me to add. So I'm going to type in my 850, and I'll go ahead and confirm that when I type that in. When I bring this game online, it will now show that override amount that we've had. And all I'll simply have to do from here is click save. And once I click save, it will now save that information. So when I go to my cabinet now, when I bring it online, I will see those values. So it is possible. Now, again, based on this one cabinet that's still playing, let me go to my tool here. We want to open up the door, bring you up, and that's going to be 106. So let me open this door. Okay, let that door open. Open logic door, operators menu. Now let's make this bigger. So again, if you have credits on the cabinet or the game is in play, you'll see you again. It will let you know based off of your software down here at the bottom. Even though I have demo software, it's going to tell you that you got credits. So in that same thing, like I did on that cabinet, that was pretty much option out. We're going to bring it online. I'll go into my setup menu again. I'll go to my progressive tab. Under my progressive tab, I'm going to go to my standalone. When I go to standalone, it'll show me what all is going on, but it's going to tell you that options are read only with credits. So the credits will have to be cleared. Once they are cleared, you can go into your override amount and go ahead and add in the values that you want to add to it. Did that answer the question that was asked yesterday? I'm trying to think. I don't know if it was Kevin. Let me go down. Brian. Brian is not on today, but you all can explain to Brian based off of this. OS will allow you to do what you need to do. All right. So leading off where we left, well, starting from where we left off yesterday, We were pretty much talking about the new OS. And again, based off the new OS, this is what you all are going to see. They made it very easy. Now, when you go in and you're say optioning out NBC, yeah, I'm gonna go back to that cabinet that we had. I think it's this one. And we'll use this cabinet. You will also notice on your OS, you're going to have a couple of the tabs down at the very bottom. So bottom left, right now we have our EGM menu selected. For each of those different tabs down at the bottom, you will have a home screen. You will again have your meters tab, event history, your setup menu, as well as your diagnostics. So for NBC, if I go to my NBC tab, I will see again, I have those same meters, but based off of now on the look for quick links, the quick links are going to pertain to our NBC. Starlight, in case y'all are wondering, this is like our new cool sign player that we're going to be using on our cabinets to run content over the signs. Based off of this, if you're going to be using Starlight, again, there's a process that you got to go through, to connect the Starlight player and all that stuff in order for it to communicate to the cabinet as well as show content on the game. This particular cabinet, I do not have a Starlight player connected to it, but this is a tab that we added in to alleviate the issue of having to go through configuring our cosign player to control media overall signs and stuff. But it's all here. And again, when it comes to if that menu was to show, the quick links that you see in that one will pertain to our Starlight player. So on all the tabs, the menu is it's all they all have quick links and event history based off of whatever tab that you have. Another thing I was telling y'all about yesterday is like based off of the search, if you're not really sure about what it is you're looking for or what you want to look for, you can actually go and hit on the search window as I did up top. And let's say I'm looking up easy config. I go and I'm gonna type in easy CON easy config FIG and scroll down a little bit, confirm that, and everything based off of easy config should appear now. Maybe I need to make it all capitals too. Back that up. Let's go shift easy and then space FIG confirm. So the only thing we have on here is just the easy config setup. But the thing is, and I don't at one time I didn't think it had to be like case sensitive, but looks like it is going to be case sensitive. But by me typing in the word easy config, it shows me the only option I have right now for this particular search I'm doing for is just the EGM setup. So I'll click on that and it'll take me directly to my easy config window to do whatever it is I need to do. All right. And I talked to y'all about the reporting already. The next thing I want to talk about is like the mounting of the cabinet. Based off of this cabinet, and again, what you'll see when you receive the cabinet, down at the very bottom, you'll notice there's this wooden plate that is part of the cabinet. That is, we put that on for shipping. Based off of, if you all recall, our older cabinets, it had a box that was in the front. And that was to keep the cabinet stable. So now we're going to this wooden plate. Depending on the slot base that you're all using, this is one of the things I was want to like I mentioned yesterday, I was going to ask the group. It's like based off the slot bases that you all use, do you all use your particular slot base or do you all use the slot bases that manufacturers provide? I guess Luxman, you have a microphone, you could probably tell me better. Or someone can type the answer in the chat. Okay, so because you all use your own basis, the way what I'm going to bring up here next is it's going this will make a little bit more sense. What they've done with this cabinet, they've actually added in a I guess we will call it a mounting bracket. Pretty much this little black bracket that you'll see once you take the cabinet off of the shipping plate. What this does is on our slot base, we have it pre-drilled to where you can actually now use this mounting plate. You put it on, obviously you center it on the at the back of the slot base, and then once you take the cabinet off of the shipping plate, you can now lift the cabinet up, put up on the slot base, and then you can slide into place. And what it'll do is it'll lock the back of the cabinet, and it'll keep it locked in at the back. Because you all are using your own slot bases, you don't necessarily have to use the shipping plate. In the bottom of the cabinet, we do have mounting points, and this is that plate. This is what it looks like in the back. We'll get into that one. I want to see this one here. We do have holes that are pre-drilled on the inside the cabinet itself. Based off those holes that are pre-drilled in the slot base, you can pretty much take your drill, and you don't necessarily have to use the template you see here in the video, but you can go ahead and drill your holes like you normally do in the cabinet, and you can mount it to your slot base. So you all don't necessarily have to use the shipping plate, but if you want to use the shipping plate, the purpose of it is, again, like it shows you, in the back of the cabinet, we have this little opening that allows it to lock into place. Now, to take the cabinet off of the shipping plate, what's going to take place? You're going to have two screws. One screw is going to be, like I told you all before, directly, right below the slot base. So once you open up the belly door, you'll get access to that screw. The other screw, unfortunately, is going to be under the cash box assembly over there. So you're going to have to open up your cash box access door, the cash box door, put the BV and printer into the service position to get to that screw. And that's the only way you'll be able to take this plate off. But as you can see inside the cabinet, we do have, I'm looking at the picture over here on the right-hand side in the very back there. There's a mounting hole back there that you can use. And the picture over here on the right, you can use those based off where you take those screws out. That's part of that shipping plate. You can use that hole, but we also have other square holes, again, in the picture on the left, that's also situated in the cabinet that you can use for mounting points. All right, iDeck. I think everybody will appreciate the iDeck, based off of the way we go about removing it. And I'll explain the process. Again, I will be sharing the YouTube link based off of showing you all how to go about removing the iDeck, but they made this one, fairly simple. Basically, you're going to have seven millimeter nuts, and it's going to be around the exterior of the cabinet. So right here from the front, you can see one screw here, a nut. There's a nut here, and then around the outside again on the sides and stuff, you'll see those 7 millimeter nuts. Once you get those 7 millimeter nuts out, there is going to be a screw, and I'll point out in the video, like I was telling y'all, that's hidden. You have to take the blanking plate off to get access to it. Once you loosen that thumb screw, you got the 7 nuts out. It's just a matter of grasping on the release lever here for the main door. You'll pull on it, and at the same time, you'll grasp at on the edge of the iDeck, and you can lift it up and out of place. I.e., in the video, we'll go through that whole process. So here it is. I got my 7 millimeter nut driver, showing you those nuts that you're going to take out. You remove those nuts, and once you get those nuts taken out, and again, the process that you want to follow is really up to you. You don't necessarily have to do it this way. You can take the blanket plate off, loosen the thumb screw, then remove the 7 millimeter nuts. But whichever way you want to go about doing this, you can do that. Now, here it is. I'm taking off the blanket plate to show y'all that screw that thumb screw I was telling you all about. Unfortunately, the only way you can get to it is you have to take the blanket plate off. So we'll go through, we'll take the blanket plate off. With the blanket plate off, you will now be able to access that thumb screw I was telling you about. Now I'm going to change the angle. This is that thumb screw I was talking about. It's literally right below the blanket plate. Once I've got the blanket plate off, that thumb screw loosened, the 7 nuts removed, now I'll grasp on the the lock handle, and now I can grasp the iDeck at the same time, and I can lift up and out. So the iDeck is fairly easy. Now, based off of players buttons that's built into the house. And I think my angle will show you, how those buttons. Yeah, there we go. So the buttons is part of the actual housing, and the iDeck is its own assembly. When it comes to changing out the buttons, you're going to have two cords that's going to be attached to it. Let me go back a little bit. Pause here. So you got a connector here. It's going to be one of your connectors, and you're going to have a connector here. You're obviously going to pull those out. Once you get those cables pulled out, then you can go ahead and disassemble the button should you have to. Um, change out the LED lighting, put on a new clear plastic over your play button, your play legend, and all of that. So, again, as you can see, it's held in with four Phillips screws. Take those four screws out, lift your button up, you'll go through, you'll disconnect your cables. When those cables are disconnected, our button assembly, for whatever reason, I feel like when I'm trying to take it out, I feel like I'm going to break it, but I mean, I've yet to break it, but it feels like when you're trying to, based off of whatever process you use, I'll take my thumb, and you'll see that here in a minute. I'll put it on one side of the button assembly, and I'll press it, to get it to come out. And that's what you'll see I'm doing here. I just use my thumb to press it out. It feels like you're going to break it, but you're not. Now, as you can see, when I pulled it out, I obviously pulled out my little LED board. But because you're probably going to be working on it, it's probably because of that light. But again, we go to put it back in, there's like a little notch. Pause. Let me go back a little bit. There's like a little alignment, and that's probably not the best angle. Play again. Right in here, there's like a little notch, and then on the button, that housing, you'll see there's also a little notch. That's your means of understanding how to make sure you have it lined up, aligned correctly. So we'll let this finish. And pretty much the opposite way of me pressing it in or pressing it to pull it out, I'll do the same thing. Put my hands up, and press it down in and to get it to lock back into place. Snap it into place. Well, I didn't show that part. Outside of that, we was almost at the end of the session as of yesterday. But based off of what we did, went over yesterday and the little bit that I've covered this morning, are there any questions pertaining to what we discussed? And again, I really apologize about yesterday, but I mean, there are things that are unforeseen that are out of my control. But is there any question I can ask anyone? Lakshmi, I know you have speaker. Kevin, Ryan, I know y'all don't. So if in y'all group, y'all can ask questions. Oh, we're still having troubles installing the main door lock. Okay, so what are you all seeing? Let's go to main doors. Unlock that one. Okay, based off the trouble that you all have, what is it that you all are seeing? So I know. Let's move this over here. Go back to share. And while you're doing that, let me see if I can find a video on it real quick. Go over to our YouTube. And let's bring this over here. The lock won't turn when installed. Okay, so hold on here. Doo-doo, doo-doo. All right, let me go back over here. Full playlist. And also, let me go in here, maybe a picture. I can have you point something out based off of the picture that you may be seeing. Go there. Upright. Photos. And maybe this picture will help out. Let this open up. Bring this over. And let's zoom in. Uh, Okay, that's one view. And how does the lock cam fit into the lock mechanism? I could not find any pictures of the game without the bracket on it. Okay, let's see if I have a picture based off of the cam. Better yet, I do. So when you look at the one picture, and I'm getting up right here, this is the direction you want to see the cam. So right now, what you're seeing on the picture over here on the left, the cam, and I need a different angle, but this is when it's unlocked. So based off the cam that you use, and you probably you're most likely going to use the same lock that you have that was part of the shipping lock. You're going to orient it to where, let's see if I have a different angle. Uh, On the game side. I'm following Kevin. I'm not really following. I'm trying to picture. So when you're saying on the game side, you mean on the cabinet side itself, or okay. So trying to see if I have a picture that will looking. That one's not gonna work. What was that one? I actually have I have a picture somewhere. I have like hundreds of pictures. This is what I'm looking at, so y'all know. Based off of the cabinet, I pretty much tore the whole thing apart. But I don't think I ever got that angle. IDEX. That's that. Yeah, I don't think I got that angle. I'm trying to think of the best way. What is this one? Let's see what this is. Okay, I don't think that's going to help you. It's one angle. There was one before that. It's that one. Yeah, unfortunately, Kevin, I don't have that angle. But I mean, if you when you're looking at it from the game side, right? Based off of, and if I was to flip this upside down, that's not helping. And that won't help either. I tell you what, Kevin, let me I'm supposed to be getting a cabinet here in the next week or so. I know y'all are working on these right now. What I'll do is I'll try to put together a video based off of one, not just the lock itself on the game side, but also too when you look inside the iDeck, there's this plate that you do not want to take off. And I thought I had pictures of that because when I went to take this plate off based off of the lock assembly, that was called iDeck. I pretty much it just messed up the whole. It took me a while to put it back together. It was this is a better picture here. So what I'll do is I'll put together a video based off of that lock showing you the orientation and everything else. So what I did was it's like this little. I took this whole plate off, and when I took that plate off, that was a mistake because based off of the lock pod housing itself, so long as you orient the cam as you saw in that picture, it's just a matter of taking it and reinserting it back in there and screwing it back in with securing it with that one screw. But I'll put together a video and hopefully I can, you know, get the angle that you really that to answer your question. Is that okay? Okay, cool. Any other questions? And based off my picture, I saw one more thing I want to point out to y'all because on YouTube, there's a video that shows you how to go about changing out or taking a main monitor off. The only downfall to that video is it does not show you the right angle. So now I'm looking for my picture. And the main monitor comes off real easy. You're actually going to have your DP connections for your video. You're going to have your power, and you're going to have your connection for your touchscreen. And then there's going to be one more connection for speaker. But based off of the way the monitor is mounted in there, you have two screws, one on the left side, one on the right, that you will take out. And then it's a matter of pressing these plastic detents. Here we go. I want that picture, and I want the other picture. All right. So based off of this screw right up here at the very top, and again, you'll see it on each side, one on each side, you're going to have a Phillips screw. You'll take that screw out. When you take this screw out, the monitor will not come forward because what's taking place, this little yellow handle mechanism you see right here, it's actually it serves as a latch. Based off this latch, once you get that screw out on each side, and one person can do it, but you're gonna take your hands, you're gonna take it pretty much if y'all can imagine it from the front. You're gonna take it and you're gonna grab your index finger, middle finger, whichever finger is more comfortable with you. You're going to press on this little opening right here. You're going to push it toward the cabinet. And then once you push it toward the cabinet, you can actually pull the monitor forward and it rests on hinges that are in that it mounts to. So I open this up right down here and make this a little bit bigger. Right down here, you'll have a hinge that display actually rests on. So when you take those two screws out, you press on that detent, you pull it forward, it will swing and it will reside on those guides for the monitor display itself. And the monitor weighs like, I think it's like 30 pounds. It's not heavy as like a lot of the other displays that we have that is out there. So it's again real easy to change out. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Ryan, you good? Okay, I see you typing. All right. So what I'm going to do, Lakshmi, Brian, he sent me over the list of everybody's certificates. I'll get that out to you all today, as well as the recording. But the mistake I made yesterday was because I ran out, I did not stop the recording, so I got to go in and edit it. By the time came back or got back to the office, like 4 hours, and the recording was still going, so I had to go in and take out all the sounding. But I will get the certificates out to you all this morning, as well as the video recording will probably be later on this afternoon. So this way you can share it with others, and that you want to watch the presentation. With that, again, I appreciate everybody's time. Apologize again for yesterday. But if you all have any questions, concerns, okay, Kevin, yeah, I'll send those to you as well. But if you don't have any questions, as always, reach out, Lakshmi. I think all of you have my email address. Send me over email address, and ask the questions. And if I don't have the answer, I'll obviously find the answers that you all need, and I'll reply to the whole group so everybody is aware of the answer based off the question that was asked. With that, thank you all. I appreciate it. Kevin, I will get started on that video. I'm supposed to be getting a cabinet, the latest and greatest cabinet here. I think it's today, as a matter of fact. If not today, I think it's one day next week. I'll put together a video based off of this lock pod and try to address the issue that you are seeing, because maybe others are seeing this as well. But I'll put something together and I'll get that over to you all. If no one has any more questions, again, thank you all. Everybody have a safe morning or afternoon, and again, thank you all.